Now that you're familiar with the NinjaTrader program, it's time to show where the strategy part will come in. When you purchased this in the first place, you would have seen a serial number that was given to you. This website, as you see it, is just a placeholder before the actual launch page is ready, but let's imagine together that this is how it will go. You take your serial number that you have and you keep that somewhere. In the meantime, you right click here to download your strategy, and you'll be saving that to a certain location. I recommend that you save it to here. Go to your computer. Now you'll see I have hundreds and hundreds of video games, but please don't let that distract you. Go to Documents, NinjaTrader 7, Bin, Custom, Export NinjaScript, and save the file here. That's where most of your strategies should be saved if you ever make any or find any that you want to use. Okay, so that's where that's going to go. Next thing we're going to do is open up NinjaTrader, and you'll actually have to import that. So here's the program itself. Now, you would go to File, Utilities, Import NinjaScript. Sometimes it has a bit of a delay before it opens anything up because it does a kind of inventory check on all the strategies it already has. Anyway, there's the Export NinjaScript folder that we looked for. And you would find it as .to whatever .zip. Right now it's .to beta 1.3. So let's open that. It might ask you, especially if you're doing an update of the system over old versions, it might ask you if you want to overwrite certain plots. Just hit yes for those. And you'll see it decompressing the file. It'll take a couple of seconds depending on how fast the computer can work it. But after a pause of between 5 and 20 seconds, it will tell you it's successfully imported. If you have any problems with it importing or it gives you an error message, just contact us at support and we'll help walk you through it. NinjaTrader can, in some cases, have unexpected surprises. Let's say if you decided to dabble with doing some strategy coding yourself and you saved one of your files with code that could not be compiled. NinjaTrader doesn't want to allow any errors or conflicts, so it would actually make sure all of your code was compilable before importing anything. It would give you an error message in that case, and you would have to go into your old code that you have saved and make sure that it's either deleted or corrected so that it can compile properly. So please do be careful with these things and make sure that you know what you're doing if you get into that coding side of things. Anyway, now the strategy's been installed. Let's get a basic initial setup just so you see how things work. Notice that I'm connected to Kinetic's free end of day data. You'll need that in order to be able to load the strategy onto anything. And just to be a little careful, I'll show you again how that's done. File, Connect, and Kinetic end of day free. There it is. So we would go to File, New, Chart. Let's put CTRX up on there. You can hit OK. And there you have a nice looking chart of the daily bars. Again, daily bars is what we'll be using here. Now to add the strategy to the chart, right click any white space, click Strategies, and go to the strategy that you have just installed. Now here are some important parameters that we'll know a lot more about later on, but for now just get to know that they are there. ATR multiplier, ATR option, ATR period, buying power amount, buying stop vol amount. These, if you ever wonder what they are, you can always read this section down here and it has a description of what they're for. You can really leave these the way they are most of the time if you're just starting out, but later on you'll see ways to optimize these values and get better performance out of your stocks potentially. Anyway, for now, we'll just show you the most important ones that you need to make use of. This can be left the way it is, this can be left the way it is, this can be left the way it is. Buying power amount is a way of having the strategy calculate out of your whole account balance, out of all the buying power that it has available to it. How much do you want to use on this strategy's trades? If you're trading stocks, you may as well just have it be nearly 100%. The reason why this is at 0.95 is to use 95% of buying power. What that does is makes it so that if your stock position dips a little bit at the beginning point, you wouldn't get a margin call right away. You would be able to have it go against you a little bit first. So that's why mine is there. Buy stop vol amount is just a long variable name. What it really means is how much of a buffer of volatility do you want to have added before you go along. That's something that the strategy calculates itself, and you can optimize this value. We found it's often best just left at 25 cents for most of the mid-range stocks that we work with. Draw the dots, we'll skip over for now. It has something to do with the exit signals. Emergency stop amount, 0.05 means the stock has an emergency stop, a live stop at 5% loss of your entry price. This is something that, of course, you would have to duplicate on your own trading. This is all going to be simulated as when you see it here, but that's what that variable stands for. By the way, guys, listening to this, I know it sucks. I have to do some editing. Here's the rough video anyway. This index ATR multiplier you can ignore for now. An initial stop is left at 5% for now. It may as well not be there. You can change it to 3%. However, that's a matter of optimization. You can ignore these two. They're just internal variables. We'll probably remove them by the time it's sold. Margin percentage. If you have a typical stock account based in a US broker, you likely have 30% margin requirement. So put this to 0.3 to reflect that. Some Canadian brokers only have a 50% margin requirement, or rather that's actually more margin required, so you would change that to 0.5. Just so as a frame of reference, the margin required is for every $1,000 of stock you have, if you have a 30% margin requirement, that means you have to put down $300 of your actual account value, and then the broker will lend you the other $700. So anyway, for a typical US based account, 0.3 seems to be the one to go with. But if you know your broker's numbers are different, you should change it accordingly. Number of stocks. Since you can run this on more than one stock at a time, let's say if you had a basket of 12 of them being run, you would change this to 12, and then it would divide the buying power up realistically into smaller amounts so that it would do better calculations. Now, one thing I'll mention about this is that it does, this is a bit of a complex thing to explain, but it does historical trades on the chart that affects the share size by the time you actually get to the current day. For that reason, you'll actually need to calculate your own share size independently of what the strategy says. There is just no way to synchronize what it has with what you'll need to be doing your trading as at this point. Use a live emergency stop as an option that you can ignore. It's best to have it in all cases in case of a black swan event. And use index exits. It's another part of the strategy's internal thought process. You need to leave it the way it is for now. We found it's just better to leave it as true. Virtual account size. This is more important for backtesting, but it's going to be a way to tell the strategy how much money you have in your account, and it will help you to have a good idea for what your share size should be. But don't forget, I did say that on a live chart that'll be thrown off by any historical trades appearing on it, so don't go too closely to what it says. This is mostly for backtesting purposes. Now you'll just see some general information here, like the account that it's on would be Sim 101 in all cases. If you had a live NinjaTrader license, you could have this on actual brokerage accounts. However, we do not recommend using the strategy in that fashion. It's meant to be used at end of day time, not to actually send live trades. There would be problems arising from that. Any strategy that has live trade capabilities often cannot be used on backtesting, and anything used in backtesting often cannot be used in live trades once they get to a certain level of complexity. So this is only meant to be used at end of day, after the session is actually closed, and it will give you the numbers that you want to use for tomorrow's open. Calculate on bar close. You should just leave that at false. That just helps to save computer processing power. This is the big one here, enabled. If you double click it, it will change to true, or you can use this drop down combo box type thing. Once you hit enabled in true, when you hit OK, you'll actually see everything turn on. It will actually start the strategy up. So we'll get to that in just a second. The rest of these things don't need to be seen. However, we do recommend putting it to exit on close as false, and sync account position as false, and then the rest of it you can just leave alone. Okay, so we're going to, oh, you know what, I'll tell you one thing that you might find interesting. I'll leave that part out for now. So we've just enabled it. We're going to hit OK, and then watch what happens to your chart. Suddenly a lot of lines and indicators appear on it. This is the way the strategy thinks. the indicators are what it uses to calculate its entries and exits, and the lines you see, for example, this green dotted line is the connection between a buy point and a profitable sell point, and hopefully we'll be seeing lots of those. If you look carefully, you'll see a couple of places where there's a dotted red line that connects a buy point to a stop loss. So I'd say you should take some time just to look at this and get familiar with how it works. You'll have learned from John how the trading strategy actually thinks and does its order execution. What I would really recommend is having that very well ingrained in your mind so you can tell what's going on and you're not just completely looking at lines, but you can actually get the logic behind it so you can just feel more in tune with what's going on. Anyway, so what's happened is it's showing you all of the trades that would have happened over the past while just because it shows historical backfill. That's what I was talking about when I said it will throw your account balance off, your calculated theoretical account balance off, because that 10,000 initial dollars we had started over here. And it's gained value with every winning trade and lost some value with some losing trades. And that's why the share size would be thrown off by the time you actually get to the current day, and that's why you'll have to calculate it yourself. But anyway, now you can see that's the way to install the strategy, that's the way to get it running. And that's about everything that you need to know at this point. We'll get into the daily use in the next video, and it will show you a lot more things you can do with it. For now, just get some familiarity with this and ask if there's any questions at all. Thanks.